Hey guys, what's going on? This is Adam Everett Miller with AE Tuts Plus, and today's quick tip is more about exposure than anything else. I want to talk to you really quick about a couple scenarios that I've used Mocha for After Effects in. If you already use Mocha for After Effects, you're familiar with its interface, you're familiar with it's a part of your workflow. Don't worry about this tutorial. A lot of this is just going to be a review for you. But if you're like how I was about 6 months ago, Mocha is a scary thing, and it can be sometimes a little difficult to step outside of After Effects where you're comfortable. So my hope for this video will just be to show you some scenarios and hopefully open your eyes to the potential of Mocha and maybe even kickstart you into maybe using it regularly yourself. Besides, it's free with CS4 and CS5, so I don't know why you wouldn't. All right, let's head over and I'll show you this first project that I worked on. This happened, like I said, about 6 months ago. A friend of mine, he was working on a trailer for a book series, and this is the shot. It's a girl watching television, and then it kind of comes down to reveal this boy reading the book, okay? And he had shot his own newscast. You know, he wanted to make sure that he owned all the content, because I think in there is that guy with the weird hair from the food guy something, I don't know. But he wanted to track his television footage onto this one. So the difficulty he had, though, is he was trying to use After Effects built-in tracker, and the content on the TV was changing the whole time, so he was really struggling. So then he came and he was trying to track the DVD box here and then the speaker, and it just wasn't working for him. And even when he would get a good track, what happens is you move here to the edge. Well, let me just take a picture here to show really quick. I'll move back a little bit. Okay. As you can see, as you move to the edge here, there's a pretty crazy barrel distortion that's going on just on the perimeter here because of the wide angle lens. So even when he got a decent track for one part, when that track would move to the edge or to the outside of the screen, it would really start to skew these lines, and it just was not working out for him. So anyway, this was probably the first product that I really jumped into Mocha with, and after that I was hooked. So let's go ahead and take a look here within Mocha. Now I'm in Mocha Pro, but you can totally use Mocha for After Effects. The principles apply the same. If you hold down Z, you can zoom in, and then X will drag it around. Now, being that this will leave the shot, I want to track a little bit more than just the outside of the television. So I'm going to come over here and track the speaker as well. Let's select an X spline, and then we'll just kind of drag around the perimeter here. And that should do it. Even after I did this, I knew enough to get this far, but even after I did this, I was still struggling, and my track was getting messed up because of the movement happening in the TV screen. And that's when I was able to, I watched a tutorial by Matthias Moll over Mammo World. He's kind of becoming the Mocha man. We actually have a tutorial from him here on AE Tuts, kind of before Mocha was that popular, but we're also going to be using his Mocha import here shortly. But he showed me, through this tutorials, he showed me that basically you can create a secondary spline which will cut out the inside. And so now you're only tracking what is in there. If you select mats, you can see that only the red is what we're going to be tracking. Everything that's inside here is going to be cut out. And you can grab these. These are little tension handles. So if you want, you can be a little bit more precise by pulling these out. Not a big deal. But yeah, so this is pretty good. We'll go ahead and deselect matte. Lastly, what we're going to do real quick, since we're going to be popping a surface on here, we need to come up here and select surface. I think in Mocha, the earlier versions, there's a little bar on the side here that says surfaces. Just select that. And then we'll go ahead and tell it where to apply this tracking data to this surface right here. Noticing in the top left corner, it's got a precision box here so that our crosshairs will be lined up just right as we do it. Okay, so let's come down here. We'll check the perspective because there will be some distortion. We'll zoom out, and then we can let it track away. And I would pause it and start again, but it'll go by pretty quickly here. But you can see that the track is happening pretty smooth, and yeah, very, very pleased with this. So as soon as it goes out of frame, we will go ahead and stop our track. Perfect. We'll bring it back to where we started, and then we will do the same thing, tracking it backwards. And this should give us a very, very clean track. It's able to go off screen because of this extra data that it has that it's able to compare to. Right off screen, just like that. Perfect. Now here we can really see the distortion that's happening as it would have continued on. You can now really get a good idea of how distorted it was going to be. But now that we have something that we're satisfied with, we can come down to Export Tracking Data, and we'll choose After Effects Corner Pin, and then we will go ahead and just save it as a text document. I prefer working this way over just copying and pasting, just because it will. It's a file. I don't have to worry about it being on the clipboard. Okay, awesome. Now we can jump over into After Effects. All right, awesome. Now that we are here in After Effects, after you install the Mocha import script, you can, let's see here, you can open it up and Mocha import. All right, perfect. Before I get to that though, what you want to do is, this was the part that really got confusing. I understood tracking in Mocha and I was getting there, but man, every time I tried to come in here and like apply the data, I was just, it was ticking me off. I'm copying and pasting keyframes and this and that, and it's just such a pain in the butt. So especially with the help of Mocha import, it really is not as difficult as it once was in my mind. So what we'll do is just go to the very, very beginning of the clip. What we want to do is take the part that we want to go into the television or into the sign or billboard or whatever, and we want to make that full screen. So if we just go up to Layer, Transform, and then we go Fit to Comp, it's going to stretch, it's going to distort, but that's okay. And then at that point, we can go Layer and Layer Pre-Compose. If you don't pre-compose it, it's going to mess it up. It's going to, because it just adjusted the scale, it scaled it to that, and then when you go to apply the data that we just exported, it's going to be distorted. So we'll do that, and now it is a layer with the scale property being 100%. So we are golden. Okay, now that we've done that, let's open up Mocha import, and we're going to load our track here, which was under desktop and TV track. Okay, we want to start at the beginning, and we just want to choose corner pin. That's all that we did, was a corner pin selected layer. All right, and then apply. Now, as we move forward, we can see that it is perfectly placed it in there. Even when it kind of is shifting off screen, it will perfectly fit in there, even at the distorted edges when it would be off to the side. As far as a bit of color correction, I would maybe desaturate this a little bit just to blend with the footage itself, and maybe add a little blur just to kind of soften it, maybe some grain. But there you go. Again, this might just be review, but if you haven't used Mocha before, I'm showing you this to say that, hey, this has some really, really cool options. Okay, so yeah, this was one scenario. This is kind of the first one that I got to play with, and it really, really opened my eyes to the power and what I had at my fingertips. And let's jump over, and I'll show you the other one. I just did show you the other scenario that I used Mocha for. All right, here you go. All right, now this is the second scenario that I did this was like just 2 weeks ago. I'm working on a documentary right now, and part of it is showing this construction progress of the stadium that was just built. And I think this is it's like a 4 or 5 month time lapse of the construction of a football stadium. And I think from what I heard, it was every 15 minutes it would take a still shot. It was a mounted camera on the other end. And you can kind of just see everything. But you'd think on a mounted camera, it would be a static image. But yet, if you look down, just kind of look down here at the logo on the field, there's a lot of wiggling going on. So I have no idea if it was wind or what. I'm not sure how this happened. But essentially, I went through and I got rid of as many clips as I could that had that were during the nighttime, and ones that had like a lot of raindrops on them. And I think all told, the video was probably like 5 minutes long, even at 30 frames per second. So I mean, it was a long time lapse. But what I wanted to do is the After Effects, if I was trying to track it and stabilize it within AE, all the variations in the lighting and color and everything was really screwing up if I tried to track this logo. And so I thought, I wonder if I can stabilize it in Mocha, even with the extreme lighting changes and day and people walking over it, stuff like that. I think at one point there was a whole graduation ceremony, but I just got rid of those clips. And so, yeah, so here's basically what I did is I just went to the very beginning. I just drew a simple X-spline. I mean, this is nothing complex. Drew it around there, but I kind of went up around the 40 yard, or the around these 40s here, just to give a little bit more perspective. And then I just started tracking forward. But I don't need to do perspective. I don't even need to do shear at that, really. It was just kind of, it was the movement. But with the time lapse, it was frame by frame. There was changes. And so then as we track forward, even with people and with things, you can see that it's sticking on there pretty stinking tight. Yeah, there's white balance changes and all sorts of different things. I guess they just set it to full auto. And this kind of shows off another really, really cool example of what Mocha is capable of. Even though every frame is somewhat different with the coloring and the lighting and everything, it still is able to take this data and figure out with the algorithms, just figure out, okay, where is this on the next frame, and then the next frame, and then the next frame. And so I'll just go ahead, and I have that much framed. What I can do is then at this point, again, hitting Z, I can zoom in, and then X, come right here. I can then choose to stabilize. I can select stabilize, and then what that'll do is it'll play back. Let me actually, it's better if I zoom out with this. It'll make the footage move around, but it'll stabilize this right here, so that even though if you just kind of watch this outside perimeter, there's lots of movement happening and going around, that center logo will stay the same. So using this to stabilize, I can then export this. I can export this data and then hop back over into After Effects, and then as a result, get a totally smooth, as I pan out, I just did a little digital crop, I can get a totally smooth time lapse here as the construction is being built. And so that was, you know, there's putting stuff on TV sets, and there's replacing signs and billboards and stuff. But as far as doing stabilization, that's another really, really cool option that you should maybe consider Mocha for next time. It's like free advertisement for them, but that's fine. Yeah, if this is not part of your daily workflow, I would encourage you to make it so, because you'll be impressed at what this can do. All right, guys. Well, this is Adam Evermiller with AE Tuts Plus. I hope you enjoyed this, and hopefully it'll encourage you to get out there and track some junk. All right. See you next time.